The wind screamed through the cracks in the hut, carrying with it the bite of iron cold. Outside, the wolf moon hung low and bloated, its pale light glinting off snowdrifts that buried the world. Inside, the air reeked of sweat and herbs meant to dull pain. Lyra, her face slick with labor's anguish, gripped the birthing rope hung from the ceiling beam. Her knuckles whitened with each wave of agony. "Push," urged Mara, the midwife, her voice frayed. The child comes sideways. Kale, Lyra's mate, stood motionless by the doorway. A hunter's instincts had taught him stillness, but tonight his hands trembled. He stared at the fire pit, where embers spat and hissed like trapped spirits. Tribesmen ought Kale's heart was carved from flint, but now his jaw clenched so tight it ached. Lyra screamed, a raw guttural sound. The rope snapped. She collapsed onto the reindeer hides, her breaths shallow. "Too much blood," Mara muttered, pressing moss soaked in juniper brew against Lyra's thighs. The child, a final heave, and the baby slid into Mara's hands. Silent. "Blue. No, Lida Raspith." She reached weakly, her fingers brushing the tiny, lifeless body. Mara rubbed the infant's chest with snow, willing breath into its lungs. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then, a cough, a wail. The sound was thin, reedy but alive. "Son," Mara said, wrapping the boy in fox fur. Lyra smiled, her eyes glazing. "Arin," she whispered, the name of her own brother, taken by fever 3 winters past. Her hand fell slack. Kale staggered forward. He knelt, pressing his forehead to Lyra's. Her skin was already cooling. The baby squirmed between them, his cries sharpening. Outside, wolves howled, their voices threading through the storm. By dawn, the village knew. Women came first, bearing lichen bread and birch bark poultices Kale would never use. They clucked over the motherless child, their pity laced with unease. Old Vaska, the bone carver, spat into the fire. "Born when the wolf moon drowns the stars. Bad omens follow that boy." Kale said nothing. He sharpened his spear by the hearth, the rhythmic scrape of flint filling the silence. Arin lay swaddled in a cradle of woven willow, his face pinched and red. Hunger had already found him. Kale had traded a week's meat for goat milk, his pride souring with each plea to the herders. "You'll join the hunt tomorrow," barked Torin, the clan's lead hunter, ducking into the hut. His breath reeked of fermented mare's milk. "We need your bow arm." Kale's gaze flicked to the cradle. "The boy. Your woman's dead. The boy lives. Hunt or starve." Torin tossed the hare's carcass at Kale's feet, a meager charity. When the others left, Kale lifted Arin. The child was lighter than a hare, his heartbeat a frantic flutter against Kale's calloused palm. He'd never held his firstborn, a girl who'd drawn breath for only a day. Now this son, this fragile, squalling thing, stared up at him with Lyra's eyes. "You'll be strong," Kale whispered, the words foreign on his tongue, "or you'll die." Nightfall brought the death chant. Kale stood at the village's edge, Arin bound to his chest with leather straps. Lyra's body lay atop a pyre of juniper branches, her face painted with ochre and ash. The tribe circled the flames, their voices rising in a dirge older than the mountains. "Spirits of the deep earth, take her breath, take her bones, guide her feet to the starless roads," Arin whimpered, his tiny fists batting the cold. Kale's throat tightened. He should have traded for more wood. Juniper burned too fast. Lyra's pyre collapsed inward, sparks swirling like fireflies. Someone handed him a torch. He hurled it onto the embers, refusing to blink as flames swallowed her last. "The boy shouldn't be here," Vaska hissed. "Death clings to him." Kale turned, slow as a glacier. The old man flinched, retreating into the crowd. Back in the hut, the boy for chapel, his lips cracked, had warned him. Easy handle. He dripped goat milk onto Arin's tongue, cursing when the child gagged. "Eat," he growled, "or I'll bury you beside her." Arin suckled weakly, milk dribbling down his chin. Kale slumped against the wall, exhaustion dragging him under. In his dreams, Lyra stood on a tundra, her arms full of light. "He's your blood now," she said, voice echoing across snow. "Your oath." A crash woke him when the door and snow dusted inside. Arin's cries were shrill, his limbs flailing. Kale restoppered the entrance, then knelt by the cradle. "Quiet," he muttered, rocking the willow frame. "You'll learn quiet." But the boy wailed on, his voice piercing the endless white night. 3 days after Lyra's pyre cooled, the elders gathered in the council hut. Smoke from the central fire pit coiled upward, escaping through a roof hole patched with lichen-stained hides. Kale sat cross-legged near the entrance, Arin swaddled against his chest. The boy slept fitfully, his breath a faint whistle. Torin, broad-shouldered and scarred from a dozen raids, spoke first. The wolf moon birth. Mother dead. Signs. Song on war. A voting token. The boy's a shadow carrier. Best leave him for the crows. Mara, the midwife, hissed through gaps in her teeth. "You'd spill an elder's bloodline?" Kale's father led this tribe when you were pissing in snowbed. She threw down a dried, symbolizing Vasco leaned forward, his bone necklace clattering. The child didn't cry, breath, soul hesitating. "If the spirits don't want him, why should we?" His gnarled hand dropped a raven's claw, a vote for death. Kodsku tightened. He counted the tokens. 3 claws, 2 fangs, 1 yarrow. Only Mara and Brenna. The Urger sided with the boy. "You'll cast no vote," Ken said. King can't just stirred, whimpering, adjusted the sling, his fingers brushing the obsidian knife at his belt. One swift cut, he thought, end the debate. But Lyra's voice whispered in his skull. "He's your oath." "The boy needs a name," Brenna said softly. "Nameless souls wander. Bring worse curses. Name him Arin." Vasca croaked. "After the frost demon, let the spirits know we see their trick." Kale stood abruptly, the council fire casting his shadow monstrous on the walls. "His name is Arin." Silence fell. Naming a child without elder consent was forbidden, a defiance that could split the tribe. Torin rose, his hand resting on his axe haft. "You spit on tradition, Flintheart. Tradition didn't keep us alive last winter," Kale said. "My arrows did." Mara coughed, breaking the tension. "Arin means strength in the old tongue. A good name." Vasca spat into the fire. "Strength? That whelp won't last the moon. Look at him." All eyes turned to the bundle at Kale's chest. Arin's face was visible now, pale as birch bark, veins blue beneath translucent skin. His breaths came rapid and shallow, like a bird's. "Give him a trial," Brenna said suddenly. Torin scowled. "What?" "The old way. Lay him at the forest's edge tonight. If the wolves take him, the spirits have spoken. If he lives till dawn, he's tribe." Kale's knife was in his hand before he realized he'd drawn it. "Touch him, and I'll salt the earth with your blood." Mara gripped his wrist. "Do the trial, Kale, or they'll kill him in your sleep." Understood. Underscore at dusk. The tribe assembled where the tree line clawed at the tundra. Brenna placed Arin on a wolf pelt laid over packed snow, his body smeared with hare's blood to draw predators. Kale stood 10 paces back, as custom demanded, his bowstring taut. "No interference," Torin warned, "or the boy dies, and you with him." The cold seeped into Kale's marrow. Arin began to cry, thin wails echoing into the gathering dark. Somewhere a wolf answered. Night deepened. The tribe retreated to fires, but Kale remained, arrow nocked. Every rustle in the brush set his pulse racing. Once a fox trotted past, pausing to sniff the blood-smeared bundle. Kale's fingers twitched, but the fox fled, spooked by Arin's sudden cough. Near midnight, the wind shifted. Wolves howled, closer now. Kale counted 3 voices, a small pack, desperate in lean winter. He sighted his bow toward the tree line, breath fogging the air. A gaunt she-wolf emerged, ribs protruding, fur matted. She sniffed the wolf pelt, then Arin. The boy had gone silent, his eyes wide and unblinking. The wolf's muzzle dipped, teeth glinting. Thunk! Kale's arrow buried itself in snow an inch from the wolf's paw. She yelped, vanishing into shadows. "Kale!" Torin bellowed from the watchfire. "You broke the trial." "I aimed wide," Kale shouted back. "No law against that." Torin stormed toward him, but Brenna intervened. "The wolf didn't take the child. Dawn's close. The trial holds." When the first sunbeam gilded the snow, Arin still breathed. His tiny hands were frost-whitened, but he lived. The spirits are fickle. Vaska muttered as Kale reclaimed his son. Back in his hut, Kale thawed Arin's limbs with heated stones wrapped in moss. The boy's cries had faded to whimpers. You'll need this, Mara said, slipping in with a bladder of goat milk. The herders won't trade with you now. Torin's spreading word you're cursed. Kale nodded, feeding Arin drop by drop. Let them talk, as Mara left. Dawn light seeped through the roof hole, illuminating Lyra's empty bedroll. Arin's eyes, her eyes, stared up at him. Arin, Kale murmured, testing the name. The boy's fingers curled around his thumb, weak but clinging. Outside, the tribe began the morning chant, voices rising to greet the sun. Kale did not join them. The thaw came late that year. I still crusted the river's edge when Arin, now 2 winters old, began to walk. His first attempts were comical. A lurching crawl, knees skinned raw on the hut's packed earth floor. Kale watched from the hearth, carving arrowheads, his face impassive. Every stumble made his jaw twitch. He's slow, grunted Torin, ducking into the hut to deliver a haunch of elk. My girl ran before her first snow. Kale drove his flint blade deeper into the wood. Your girl talks too much. Like her father. Torin's laughter trailed him outside, but Arin froze at the sound, trembling. Kale cursed under his breath. The boy, startled at every raised voice, flinched from sudden movements. Weakness, he thought, like his mother's soft heart. Yet when the tribe gathered to mend fishing nets by the river, Arin surprised them. Sunlight glinted off meltwater as women wove nettle fiber ropes, their chatter mingling with the clatter of bone mules. Arin crouched nearby, poking at a beetle struggling in the mud. Kale stood apart, repairing his bowstring, when a shout cut through the air. Wolf! A lean gray shape darted from the reeds, a yearling, ribs sharp beneath its pelt. Women scattered, grabbing children. Arin toddled toward the commotion, eyes wide. Stay! Kale barked, knocking an arrow. The wolf lunged at a basket of dried fish. Arin let out a high, wordless cry and hurled a stone. It missed, splashing into the shallows, but the wolf spun, snarling. Kale's arrow took it through the neck. Silence fell. Arin stood ankle deep in icy water, fists clenched, face splattered with mud. He's got fire after all, Brenna said, breaking the tension. Kale hauled Arin back to shore, ignoring the boy's shivers. Never turn your back on prey, he muttered, more to himself than the child. That night, Kale found Arin standing. Moonlight seeped through the hut's smoke hole, silvering the boy's face as he gripped the cradle's edge. He swayed, legs shaking, then took one step, 2 before collapsing. Kale pretended not to notice, but when Arin tried again, whimpering with effort, he rose. Here, Kale knelt, arms outstretched. Arin stared, distrustful. They rarely touched outside, feeding or bundling against cold. Coolman. The boy lurched forward, fingers brushing Kale's calloused palms before he fell. Kale caught him, the child's heartbeat frantic against his chest. Arin reeked of sour milk and wood smoke, alive and fragile. Again, Kale ordered, setting him upright. By the next full moon, Arin followed him everywhere. Kale hunted ptarmigan in the frost-bitten meadows. Arin trailed behind, stumbling over tussocks. Kale's scraped hide stretched between birch saplings. Arin piled stones, babbling to himself. The boy's legs bore bruises, his palms thorn-pricked, but he didn't cry. Not anymore. Why'd he let him stray? Mara asked, grinding elderberries into dye. A bear could snatch him. Kale shrugged. Better that than coddled. But when Arin vanished during a mist-drenched dawn, Kale's composure cracked. He found the boy at the birthing hut, now sagging under snowmelt rot. Arin crouched in the doorway, tracing finger smears in the ash-strewn floor. Out Kale growled. Arin ignored him, patting the ground where Lyra's bedroll had lain. A rusted birthing knife lay half-buried in debris. Hers. Kale's breath hitched. He yanked Arin upright, the boy's legs kicking empty air. This place is death, he hissed. You don't belong here. Arin went limp, his silence worse than tears. Spring rains arrived, turning paths to sludge. Arin mastered walking on slopes, his small boots suctioning mud with each step. One evening, as Kale returned from setting snares, a cry halted him. Arin stood atop the granary's rock pile, arms windmilling. Below, Torin's daughter, Sela, sneered. Jump, curse child. Fly like your demon kin. Kale's blood iced. Before he could move, Arin leaped, not toward the taunting girl, but at the adjacent midden heap. He face-planted in rotting fish guts, then scrambled up, stinking but unhurt. Sela gagged, retreating. "Fool," Kale said, hauling Arin away. But later, scrubbing the boy in the river, he noticed something. Arin's mouth twitched, almost a smile. When the first geese arrowed north, Arin ran, true running, legs pumping, arms slicing air as he chased a stray chicken through the village. Women paused their weaving to stare. Vasca muttered about unnatural vigor, but Kale watched from the shadows, a strange pride tightening his throat. That night, he dreamt of Lyra. She stood knee-deep in a summer meadow, Arin sprinting toward her, laughing. Kale woke to the boy's knees digging into his ribs. Arin had crawled onto his palate, something he'd never dared before. Kale didn't push him away. The third winter stole the village's breath. It began with silence. No howling winds, no creaking trees. Frost painted the world glass white, sealing rivers and choking the last autumn berries in their stems. By the time the first child died, old Vasca's granddaughter, her cries fading to whimpers at dawn, the tribe's bellies had shriveled to fists. Kale's hunts yielded little. The caribou herds had vanished, and snow hares grew scarce as sunlight. Arin, 3 winters old, no longer asked for food. He curled by the fire pit, sucking pebbles to trick his stomach, while Lyra, 12 summers and sharp as a flint blade, boiled bark tea until the hut stank of rot. "Drink," she whispered, pressing a wooden bowl to Arin's cracked lips. He sipped, gagged. The tea tasted of mud and bitterness. "No, drink." Lyra's hands trembled, sloshing liquid onto his tunic. Her collarbones jutted like broken wings. Kale returned at dusk, his boots crusted with ice. A scrawny ptarmigan dangled from his belt, its neck snapped. "Last one," he muttered, skinning the bird with shaking hands. Lyra divided the meat. A sliver of breast for Arin, gizzard for herself, bones for Kale to boil into broth. "Eat your share," Kale ordered her. "I did." Her lie hung in the air, brittle as the icicles outside. By midwinter, the village turned feral. Torin's hunters raided the granary, clubbing elders who protested. Children gnawed leather straps. Brenna, the herb gatherer, disappeared into the forest with a basket of hemlock. Whether to forage or end her hunger, no one asked. Lyra joined the women digging for frozen cattail roots in the marsh. Arin trailed her, his legs wobbling, until he collapsed in the snow. She carried him back, her breath ragged, and traded her bone comb for a handful of moldy acorns. "Eat," she urged, cracking the shells with her teeth. Arin vomited them up. "Eat," she hissed, forcing another into his mouth. Kale watched, sharpening his knife. Let him starve. Weakness cleanses the tribe. Lyra spun, her eyes blazing. "He's your blood." Blood means nothing in snow. The worst came when the dogs vanished. One by one, the village's loyal hounds disappeared, snared, butchered, stewed. Kale found Arin crouched by the last pup, a brindle mutt with eyes like melted amber. "Don't name it," Kale warned. Arin pressed his forehead to the dog's flank. "Tala." That night, Torin came. The elders voted. He tossed a wolf fawn onto the hearth, the death token. The dog dies, or the boy shares its fate. Lyra stepped between them, a skinning knife in her hand. "Touch him, and I'll salt the earth with your entrails." Kale said nothing. He gripped Arin's arm, dragging him outside as Torin seized the whining dog. "Don't look," Kale ordered. Arin looked. The dog's screams lasted longer than the others. When the tribe gathered for their grim feast, Arin scrabbled in the bloody snow, collecting tufts of brindle fur. Lyra found him, slapped him, then clutched him to her chest. "Survive," she whispered, her tears freezing in his hair. "Survive, and make them regret it." Lyra's sacrifice came quietly. Kale woke to find her slumped against the hearth, Arin cradled in her lap. Her wrists were slit, the blood congealed in a wooden bowl. "What have you done?" he roared. Her voice was a threat. "My strength goes to him. Let him drink." Arin stirred, lips brushing the bowl's edge. "No." Kale knocked it aside. Blood splattered the walls like a curse. Lyra's hand fell limp. "Fool," she breathed. "Now we all die." They buried her in the frozen earth, too depleted for fire or song. Kale hacked at the ground with his axe, Arin clawing at his legs. "Lily, Lily." "Quiet," Kale growled. "Tears won't thaw her bones." That night, he butchered the last wolf carcass from his traps. Arin refused to eat until Kale pinned him down, stuffing gristle into his mouth. Swallow, or her death rots with her. Arin choked, then obeyed. Something in his eyes hardened. A flint spark. Spring came late, revealing the cost. Half the tribe lay buried. The survivors moved like ghosts, chewing lichen and sucking sap for birch trunks. Arin followed Kale into the thawing woods, silent, his small hands clenched around Lyra's skinning knife. When Kale felled the deer, Arin plunged the blade into its throat before the light left its eyes. "Good," Kale said. Arin didn't answer. He wiped blood on his tunic, Lyra's name unspoken between them. Spring rains softened the world to mud when Arin turned 6 winters. The tribe's scars from the hunger winter still showed. Huts unrepaired, laughter rare, but the earth breathed again. Crocuses pierced frost-rimed soil, and the fur salmon runs churned the river silver. Yet in Kale's hut, there was no time for renewal. Again, Kale ordered, tossing a deer bone onto the hearthstones. Arin wiped snot on his sleeve, hands trembling. 3 days he'd been at this, carving a spearhead from the bone's dense shaft. His first attempt lay splintered in the fire pit. His second had snapped mid-carve. This third bone was his last chance before Kale declared him unfit to hunt. "Strike here," Kale said, tapping a notch near the bone's midpoint. His right hand, missing 2 fingers from the raid years prior, moved with blunt precision. Arin adjusted his grip on the flint scraper. The tool's edge bit into his palm, still tender from gathering thorns for the fish traps. He struck. The bone shuddered but held. "Weak," Kale muttered. "Put your shoulder into it." A memory flickered. Lyra's voice, soft as down, gentle little bear, carving his patience. Arin clenched his jaw, struck harder. The bone cracked diagonally, ruining the shaft. Kale snatched the fragments. "Useless. You'd star with hands this clumsy. I'll use stone instead," Arin argued, though he knew the rules. Boys carved bone before flint, proving control. "Stone's wasteful in your grip." Kale tossed him a fresh bone, this one yellowed and stinking, scavenged from a wolf-killed elk. Again, outside, the village buzzed with purpose. Women repaired fishing nets strung between birch saplings. Tauren's hunters laughed as they honed spears, their blades glinting. Arin watched them through the hut's smoke hole, his stomach growling. He hadn't eaten since dawn, Kale's punishment for yesterday's failures. "Focus," Kale barked, kicking the hearthstones. Sparks spiraled upward. Arin's neck strike slipped. The flint scraper gashed his thumb, blood welling. He sucked the wound, iron tang flooding his tongue. Kale didn't look up from fletching arrows. Bleed quietly. By dusk, Arin's hands were cross-hatched with cuts, but the bone held its shape, a tapered point, rough but serviceable. Kale inspected it under firelight, grunted, and tossed it into the quenching bucket. Steam hissed. "Tomorrow. Halved it," Kale said, as if praise might poison them both. But night brought complications. Arin woke to whispers. Tauren's daughter, Sela, crouched in the hut's shadows, her braids glinting with stolen firelight. At 9 winters, she'd already mastered the art of cruelty. "Cursed child," she hissed, dangling a gutted mouse over Arin's face. "Your spearhead's crooked, like your dead sister's teeth." Arin lunged. They rolled into the hearth, scattering embers. Sela clawed his cheek. He bit her wrist. The bone spearhead, propped by the fire pit, clattered into the flames. Kale awoke in a fury, hauling them apart. Sela fled, screeching insults. Arin scrambled to rescue the spearhead, but the bone had charred, its tip warped. "Weakness draws wolves," Kale said, voice dangerously calm. He thrust a flint nodule into Arin's hands. "Carve this, now." But the rule now. Flint was less forgiving than bone. Arin knelt by the river at dawn, the nodule gripped between his knees. He'd watched Kale nap, stone 100 times, the precise angle of strike, the way flakes sheared away in glassy curls. His first blow glanced off, slicing his shin. "Patience." Arin startled. Brenna, the herb gatherer, stood behind him, her basket overflowing with early nettles. Though thinner since the famine, her eyes still held their hawk-like sharpness. "You're holding the striker wrong." She knelt, repositioning his grip on the antler hammer. "Guide the force through the stone, not against it." Arin struck again. A flake spiraled off, edges sharp enough to skin a hair. Brenna nodded. "Your mother's hands." Lyra wasn't my mother. "No, but she loved you like one." Brenna placed a nettle leaf on his bleeding shin. "Don't let Kale carve that out of you." By midday, Arin's flint spearhead took shape. a jagged triangle, uneven but deadly. He returned to find Kale inspecting his work, face unreadable. "Haft it," Kale ordered, tossing him a shaft of ashwood. Arin bound the spearhead with sinew, his fingers stiff but steady. When he finished, Kale tested the balance, then thrust it back. "Tomorrow you hunt." The test came at first light. Kale led him to a thicket where boar tracks dented the mud. Arin's spear felt alien in his hands, the flint head heavier than bone. A twig snapped. The boar emerged, a yearling tusk still short. Arin froze. "Strike!" Kale hissed. The boar charged. Arin's spear flew wide, embedding in an oak trunk. The boar veered, vanishing into brush. Kale backhanded him. Blood filled Arin's mouth. Soft, Kale spat. Like her, Arin retrieved his spear. The flint head had chipped, but the edge held. He wiped his face on his sleeve, smearing red. Again, Kale studied him, then nodded. That night, Arin lay awake, thumbing the spearhead's edge. His cheek throbbed, but the pain felt clean, earned. Outside, the wolf moon rose, its light filtering through the smoke hole. Somewhere in the forest, a lone wolf howled, a sound that no longer frightened him. Dawn smeared the sky blood red as the hunters gathered at the forest's edge. Arin, barely 8 winters old, clutched his flint-tipped spear, its half slick with sweat. Kale had spent weeks drilling him. Aim for the throat. Don't hesitate. But now, standing beside men twice his size, the spear felt like a child's stick. Torin snorted, adjusting the bear-tooth necklace that marked his kills. Should have left him tending snares. He's Kale's blood, grunted Harrell, the tribe's best tracker. Let the boy prove it. Kale ignored them, strapping a leather guard to Arin's forearm. Stay left. Drive the herd toward the ravine. His breath fogged the air between them. Fail and men died. Arin nodded, throat tight. The bison herd grazed in a mist-cloaked meadow, their massive shoulders rippling like storm clouds. Harrell signaled silently, split and flank. Arin crept left, heartbeat thundering in his ears. The wind shifted, carrying the musk of dung and wet fur. A bull lifted its head, nostrils flaring. Now, Arin lunged from the brush, screaming as Kale had taught him. The herd startled, hooves churning mud. For a breath, pride surged. He'd done it. Then the bull charged. It was a monster, taller than 2 men, horns curved like scythes. Arin froze. Lyra's face flashed in his mind, her last breath fogging the hut's cold air. The bull's roar shook his bones. "Move!" Kale's shout shattered the trance. Arin stumbled aside. The bull veered, goring Harrell's thigh before crashing into the trees. The tracker's scream split the morning. Chaos erupted. Hunters converged, spears flying. Arin crouched behind a boulder, vomit burning his throat. Harrell writhed in the mud, blood pooling black. Torin drove his spear into the bull's eye, cursing Arin with every thrust. When the beast fell, silence returned, heavy as a burial stone. Kale hauled Arin up by his tunic. "You held the line like a startled hare." I tried. Trying is for women and fools." Kale shoved him toward Harrell. "Face what your weakness costs." Harrell's leg bent wrong, bone glinting through torn flesh. Brenna knelt beside him, packing the wound with moss. Her glare struck Arin like a slap. "Fetch my yarrow pouch. Run." The tribe's scorn festered by nightfall. Around the butchering fire, Torin reenacted Arin's failure, miming a cowering child to jeers. Even the dogs avoided him, slinking away when he offered scraps. Arin hid in the smokehouse, throat raw from unshed tears. The wolf pup, scrawny and gray, with one chewed ear, nudged his hand. He'd secretly named it Ghost, after the pale streak on its chest. "Should have let the bull trample me," he whispered. Ghost licked his palm, tail thumping. Kale found him there. "Moping won't heal Harrell. I didn't mean to. Meaning doesn't matter." Kale tossed a bison tendon at his feet. "Drop your spear. You'll hunt alone at dawn." Alone. The word echoed as Arin crouched in the pre-dawn forest, Ghost shadowing his steps. Kale's orders were clear. Return with game or don't return. His spear felt heavier now, its flaws glaring, the haft splintered, the flint edge chipped from yesterday's panic. A rustle. Arin spun, spear raised. A young doe emerged, delicate as morning frost. She browsed birch leaves, unaware. Aim for the throat. He crept closer, footfalls silent on pine needles. The doe lifted her head, ears twitching. Arin's arms trembled. He saw Harrell's mangled leg, Torin's sneer, Kale's disappointment. Ghost lunged, snapping at the doe's heels. She bolted. Arin's spear flew wild, embedding in a tree. No! He chased, but the forest swallowed her. Ghost returned, tail tucked, whining. Arin sank to his knees. The spearhead had snapped. He returned at dusk, empty-handed. Kale waited at the village edge, arms crossed. Behind him, Torin sharpened a knife, smile venomous. Well, Arin unslung the broken spear. I missed. For a breath, he thought Kale might strike him. Instead, his father laughed, a cold, mirthless sound. You're no hunter. Go tend the middens. As Arin trudged past, Torin spat. Curse child, Ghost growled. Arin silenced him with a touch. That night, Brenna found him scrubbing blood from the butchering stones. Harrow lives. She pressed a yarrow poultice into his hand. For your palms. He hadn't noticed the blisters. Kale was worse at your age, she added, voice softening. Froze solid on his first boar hunt. Arin stared. He didn't ask him. She left with a knowing glance. Arin didn't ask, but as he lay awake, Ghost warm at his side, he replayed her words. Dawn found him carving a new spearhead, fingers raw but steady. The stranger crawled into Ashvale at dusk, dragging a leg twisted like knotted rope. Arin spotted him first, while setting snares in the alder thickets. The man's skin was cracked with dried blood, his lips split from thirst. He clutched a broken spear, not tribal craftsmanship, its shaft carved with spirals Arin didn't recognize. Raiders, the stranger croaked, collapsing into mud. Coming south, Arin hesitated. Kale's warnings hissed in his mind. Traps come in human skins. But the man's wounds reeked of truth. Ghost, Arin whispered. The wolf pup emerged from the brush, ears flattened. Fetch Brenna. The tribe gathered in the council hut. Smoke from the central fire pit stinging Arin's eyes. Brenna knelt beside the stranger, grinding comfrey and yarrow into a poultice. His leg, she determined, was savaged by a wolf trap. Rusted iron, not their tribe's. Speak, Torin demanded, looming over the man. Before the fever takes you. The stranger gulped birch bark tea, his accent strange, guttural. I'm Yerrick of the Pine Ridge folk. Raiders from the Ice Maw clan burned our village. Took women, children. They march here next. Murmurs rippled. Kale leaned forward, his scarred hands clasped. How many? 50, maybe more. Jarek's voice broke. They ride wolves. Laughter erupted. Torin spat into the fire. Wolves don't bear men. These do. Jarek's eyes glinted with terror. Monstrous as bears, with eyes like coals. They enough. Vaska slammed his staff. This fool's mind is addled by pain. His tale reeks of lies. Brenna pressed a hand to Jarek's brow. He burns with fever, but not madness. Arin hovered near the doorway, Ghost tense at his heels. The stranger's spear lay across his lap. Its spirals matched the scars on Jarek's cheeks. Rider marks, he realized. A kinship sigil. Why warn us? Kale asked, quiet as a knife unsheathed. Yerrick met his gaze. Your tribe sits on their path. You delay them, my people escape. Torin lunged, gripping Jarek's throat. You make us your shield? Torin. Brenna, shove him back. He's barely alive. Kale stood, cutting the tension. We post double watches. Send scouts north. For a madman's rambling. Torin sneered. For ash on the wind. Kale nodded to the smoke hole. Beyond it, the northern horizon smudged gray. Too early for hearth fires. Arin followed the hunters to the ridge. The wind carried cinders, faint but unmistakable. Harold, still limping from the bison goring, sniffed a charred leaf. Pine Ridge burned 3 days past. If the raiders march hard, they'll reach us by the new moon, Kale finished. That night, Arin sharpened spears beside the fire pit. Ghost gnawed a marrow bone, growling at shadows. Kale oiled his bowstring, his silence heavier than usual. Do wolves really carry men? Arin asked, Kale's hands stilled. Wolves obey no one, but men can be wolves. Yerrick died at dawn. Brenna found him cold, his bandages soaked through with black blood. Infection, she muttered, though Arin noticed the bruising around his neck. Finger-shaped from Torin's grip. They buried him beyond the village. No chance sung. Arin placed the spiral-carved spear atop the grave. Should have kept it, Torin scoffed. Wasteful. Kale said nothing. He studied the northern hills, where crows circled like living smoke. Preparations began. The tribe stockpiled arrows, dug pit traps lined with thornbush spikes. Women soaked hides in the river, weaving them into makeshift shields. Arin hauled stones for the palisade, his palms blistered raw. Fool's labor, Torin jeered, watching boys sharpen stakes. No raider band would waste strength on our scraps. But Arin remembered Jarek's eyes, the way they darted to the children playing by the river. They took women, children. At dusk, Kale took Arin aside. You'll guard the eastern ridge tonight, alone, you and the wolf. Kale thrust a horn into his hands. Blow if you see torches. The ridge wind bit through Arin's hair fur cloak. Ghost paced, whining. Below, the village fires flickered like earthbound stars. Midnight passed. An owl hooted. Arin's eyelids drooped. A snarl ripped the dark. Ghost lunged, teeth bared. Arin scrambled up, horn raised. Shapes moved in the valley. Four-legged, too large for wolves. His breath froze. Eyes like coals. Kale. He blew the horn. The sound raw and desperate. Ghost howls joined the cacophony. Torches flared in the village. The shapes vanished, melting into forest shadows. By the time Kale arrived, the valley lay empty. Trick of the dark, Torin growled, yanking Arin to his feet. The cursed child startles at his own shadow. Kale crouched, tracing a paw print in the mud, twice the size of Ghost's. Wolf or bear, Torin said. Arin said nothing. Clutched in his fist was a tuft of coarse fur, streaked white and reeking of smoke. At dawn, scouts found the remains of a camp. Trampled bracken, wolf dung, and the bones of a child-sized hare. No tribe ate hare whole. They're close, Harold murmured. Kale tightened his quiver strap. Closer than we know. Arin pocketed the tuft of fur, its stench clinging to his fingers like a warning. Dawn broke silent and white, snow muffling the world. Arin crouched in the watchtower, Ghost tense at his side. 3 nights had passed since the scouts found the raiders' camp, and the village slept in shifts, weapons clutched like lovers. The first arrow took old Vasca through the throat. He'd been pissing behind the granary. The old man crumpled without a sound, dark blood steaming against snow. Arin stared, frozen, until Ghost's snarl snapped him alert. Shadows surged from the tree line, men clad in wolf pelts, faces smeared with ash. Raiders! Arin screamed, sounding the horn. Chaos erupted. Torin's hunters spilled from huts, bows twanging. A raider fell, clawing at the shaft in his eye. Another swung a stone axe, shattering a boy's skull. Arin scrambled down the ladder, Ghost at his heels. Kale sprinted past, tossing him a dagger. To the storehouse. Guard the grain. Arin ran. A raider lunged, reeking of rancid fat. Ghost latched onto the man's leg, buying Arin a heartbeat to dodge. He stabbed wildly, the blade skidding off leather armor. The raider backhanded him into a snowdrift, then staggered as Brenna's spear took him through the ribs. Move, she roared. The storehouse door splintered. Raiders swarmed the grain sacks, slashing them open. Arin hurled his dagger. It lodged in a man's shoulder. Ghost darted, nipping at heels, but the raiders fought like pack wolves, disciplined, ruthless. Fire, someone shouted. Smoke billowed from the council hut. Flakes of burning hide spiraled into the dawn. Arin glimpsed Kale atop the roof, bow drawn, picking off raiders with lethal calm. Then the scream. Lyra's name. Arin spun. Sela, Torin's daughter, lay pinned beneath a raider, her tunic torn. Her eyes met Arin's, wide with terror. Move. Help her. His legs locked. Ghost's barks faded, drowned by the thud of his own pulse. The raider raised a knife. Kale's arrow took him through the neck. Arin. Kale's voice cracked like a whip. Fight or flee. Arin fled. He hid in the birthing hut, knees pulled to his chest. The reek of old blood and smoke choked him. Screams filtered through the walls, real and imagined. Lyra's face haunted the shadows, her voice a whisper. Weakness cleanses the tribe. A crash. The door burst open. Kale staggered in, clutching his left hand. Blood sheeted down his arm, 2 fingers missing. Bandages, he gasped. Arin stared. The stumps of Kale's index and middle finger glistened, bone protruding. Now! Arin ripped a strip from his tunic. Kale bound the wound with teeth and trembling fingers. Outside, the battle's tide turned. Torin's war cry echoed, followed by retreating footsteps. They're running, Arin whispered. Kale stood, swaying. Finish them. You're hurt. Hurt isn't dead. He shoved Arin toward the door. The raiders fled into the woods, trailing blood. Arin chased with the hunters, Ghost a pale streak ahead. A wounded raider, a boy no older than Arin, collapsed in the snow. Torin raised his axe. Wait. Arin grabbed his arm. He's Torin backhanded him. Sympathy gets you killed. The axe fell. Arin vomited. By midday, The dead were counted. 6 tribesmen, 3 women, 2 children. Raiders, 17. Their bodies were stripped and left for crows. Cale sat by the fire pit, Brenna stitching his mangled hand. Arin hovered, clutching a bowl of melted snow. "Drink," he offered. Cale ignored him. His gaze stayed fixed on Torin, who regaled the tribe with exaggerated blows. Sliced the brute's belly open, guts spilling like enough. Brenna snapped. She tied off Cale's bandage. "You'll never draw a bow again." Cale flexed his remaining fingers. "I'll adapt." Arin's throat tightened. "I tried to help Sela. I just froze." "I know." Cale stood, towering over him. "Your mother froze too. The night the wolves came." Arin's breath hitched. No one spoke of his birth mother. She hid. "Let them drag her sister away." Cale's voice softened, almost gentle. "Weakness isn't forgiven here, not even in children." He left, joining Torin's boasting circle. Arin found Ghost by the river, licking a gash on his flank. The wolf whined, pressing his head into Arin's palm. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Across the water, ravens feasted on the dead. Arin watched until dusk. The dagger Cale had given him cold in his grip. That night, he didn't sleep. He sharpened the blade, over and over, as the village's morning chants seeped through the walls. When Torin's laughter rang out, the cursed child pissed himself. Arin didn't flinch. He carved a new notch into his spear. Dawn bled gray and cold over Ashvale. The dead lay in a ragged row outside the council hut, their faces dusted with ash to ward off vengeful spirits. Arin counted them twice, 11. His gaze lingered on the smallest shroud, a child-sized bundle wrapped in river reeds. Beside it lay Tarn's father, Jorik, his hunting spear snapped across his chest. Tarn crouched in the dirt, tracing the spear's broken haft. At 10 winters, he was already broad-shouldered like his father, but now he seemed shrunken. Arin approached, Ghost padding silently behind. "They say he took 3 raiders down," Tarn muttered. 3. Arin remembered Jorik's laugh booming across the river during salmon runs. He fought well. Fighting well doesn't unbreak a spear. Tarn snapped the shaft again, splinters embedding in his palm. Brenna called the tribe to the burial grove. The graves were shallow, the earth still iron-hard from winter. Arin dug beside Cale, his blistered hands slipping on the antler pick. Ghost nosed at Jorik's shroud, whining. "Keep that beast back," Torin growled, hefting a stone-weighted shovel. "Defile the rites." Cale's bandaged hand left smears of dried blood on the pick. He worked in silence, his breath frosting the air. Arin wondered if the missing fingers ached in the cold. When the pit was dug, Brenna anointed the dead with rendered bare fat. "Spirits of soil and root," she chanted. "Take these bones, make them strong again." Arin helped lower Jorik into the earth. Tarn threw the first handful of dirt, a sharp, angry gesture. "Sing," Brenna ordered. The tribe's voices rose, raw and off-key. "Where your breath fades, we plant the seed. Where blood soaks, we reap the weed." Arin mouthed the words, throat tight. He'd never understood the song's meaning. Now, watching Tarn's tears carve paths through the ash on his cheeks, he hated it. Afterward, the women distributed blackthorn tea, bitter but warm. Arin found Tarn sharpening a flint blade behind the smokehouse. "They'll give you his spear," Arin offered. "Once the morning moon passes." Tarn scoffed. "I don't want his spear. I want him." A gust scattered ashes from the burnt council hut. Arin thought of Lyra, her bones lost to the hunger winter's frozen ground. "They don't come back. You don't know that." Tarn slashed at a post, flint biting deep. "Brenna says spirits linger. Maybe he's watching. Maybe he's ashamed. Of you. Of this." Tarn gestured to the patched palisade, the dwindling grain stores. "We're weaker now. Raiders will return." Ghost growled. Torin's laughter echoed from the fire pit, where hunters tallied their kills. Cale sat apart, readying his bandage with teeth and stubbornness. "We'll be ready," Arin lied. Nightfall brought the death watch. Arin sat with Tarn by Jorik's grave, a feeble torch guttering between them. Tradition demanded kin guard the burial site for 3 nights, lest scavengers desecrate it. Ghost circled the grove, ears pricked for wolves. "Remember when he taught us to track hares?" Tarn asked suddenly. Arin nodded. Jorik had pinned their mittens to a log until they learned to read the snow. "Patience," he barked. "The land speaks. He promised to take me north to the caribou grounds." Tarn's voice cracked. "Now I'll never a rustle in the brush." Ghost snarled. A shadow emerged. Cale, bearing a skin of fermented mare's milk. He drank deeply, then offer it to Tarn. Your father was a fool. Tarn surged up, flint knife drawn. Arin grabbed his arm. Cale didn't flinch. He charged 3 armed men to save a child. A fool's act. He was brave. Bravery without purpose is waste. Cale tossed the skin onto George. Honor him by surviving. He left, his silhouette merging with the dark. The third night, ravens came. Arin woke to wings beating, black shapes mobbing Jork's grave. He shouted, hurling stones, ghosts napping at feathers. Tarn laughed, a jagged, broken sound, and joined the frenzy. When the birds fled, Tarn collapsed onto the dirt. They'll pick us all clean someday. Arin studied the scattered ashes, the trampled earth. Survival had always meant hunger, cold wolves. Now he saw the deeper truth. Everything they built turned to dust. We'll rebuild the palisade. Deeper posts. Tarn eyed him. You sound like your father. Arin's chest tightened. At dawn, cleared the death watching. Arin stumbled home, legs numb. Cale sat by the hearth, honing a dagger with his maimed hand. Arin played. Songs hurled and ghost warm against his back. Outside, the wind carried whispers of the burial chant, or maybe just the ravens circling. The morning after the burials, Arin found Cale's severed fingers. They lay in the ashes of the council hut's hearth, blackened and curled like dead spiders. Cale had tossed them there days ago, a hunter's ritual to scorn weakness. Arin poked them with a stick while rising. Ghost sniffed cautiously, hackles raised. Leave it. Cale stood in the doorway, his maimed hand wrapped in filthy linen. He'd refused Brenna's poultices, letting the wound weep openly. Arin wondered if it hurt more than the old man let on. Why keep them? Arin asked. To remember. Cale stirred the ashes with his boot. Now fetch your bow. We hunt. The forest was a lattice of ice and shadows. Arin trailed Cale, his breath fogging the air. His father moved stiffly, favoring his uninjured side. The raid had stolen more than fingers. It had carved years into Cale's posture. Here, Cale halted at a deer trail, his breath ragged. Ambush point. Arin knocked an arrow, fingers trembling, the bowstring bit into his blisters. Steady, Cale growled. Shaking scares prey. I'm not shaking, Arin lied. A rustle upstream. A young buck emerged, nosing through frost-brittle ferns. Arin drew the bowstring, muscles burning. Aim for the throat. The arrow flew wide, embedding in a birch trunk. The buck bolted. Cale backhanded him. Useless. Arin wiped blood from his split. Oh, you've wasted. That night, Arin slipped from the hut. Ghost followed him to the riverbank, where moonlight turned the water to liquid silver. He'd stolen Cale's whetstone and a bundle of arrowheads. Again, he muttered, knocking another arrow. His arms shook. His shots went wild. Ghost chased the missed arrows, retrieving them with gentle jaws. Even the wolf pities you. Tarn stood at the tree line, Jork's broken spear slung across his back. His eyes were red-rimmed, his cheeks hollow. Go away, Arin said. Tarn snatched the bow. You're holding it wrong. He adjusted Arin's grip, calloused fingers rough with purpose. Feet apart. Breathe through the shot. The arrow struck a pine knot, quivering. Why help me? Arin asked. Tarn's smile was bitter. Dead raiders can't come back. But you? You're still here to hate. 3 nights passed this way. Arin's shoulders swelled with knots, his palms crusted with scabs. Ghost grew leaner, chasing down stray arrows. On the 4th night, Cale found him. You'll ruin your eyes, he said, watching Arin squint in the moonlight. You ruined your hand. Cale flexed his maimed fingers. And you'll ruin your legs, your back, your breath, all for pride. Arin lowered the bow. I won't freeze again. No, you'll miss, or hesitate, or die. Cale took the bow, drew the string with his 3 fingers, and loosed an arrow into the dark. A distant yelp echoed. A hair struck through the flank. Kill it, Cale ordered. Arin found the creature thrashing in the underbrush, the arrow piercing its hind leg. He knelt, dagger drawn. The hare's heartbeat pulsed against his palm. Do it, Cale said. Arin hesitated. Cale's boot stamped down, crushing the hare's skull. Weakness, he spat. At dawn, Arin stood before the council fire. The tribe watched, faces gaunt with hunger and suspicion. Torin smirked. Brenna frowned. Tarn stood stone-faced. Speak your oath, Cale commanded. Arin raised the blood-stained dagger. I will become a hunter strong enough to protect this tribe. My failures will feed no more graves. Brenna stepped forward, pressing a thumbprint of ash to his forehead. The spirits witness. The spirits laugh. Torin muttered. Cale gripped Arin's shoulder, his maimed hand leaving a bruise. Prove it. The trial began at dusk. Arin stood at the forest's edge, a hareskin pack slung over his shoulder. Brenna handed him a torch. Fire is life. Guard it. Cale's gaze was flint. Survive the night, or don't return. The forest swallowed Arin whole. Shadows pressed close, alive with whispers. Ghosts stayed behind. Tradition forbade companions. He chose a hollow beneath a lightning-split oak, its trunk scarred by claw marks. The torchlight wavered as he gathered kindling. A twig snapped. Arin froze, dagger drawn. Nothing. He built a fire, feeding it damp pine needles to mask the smoke. Hunger gnawed at him. He'd been given no food, only a water skin. Midnight crept in. The cold bit through his reindeer hide cloak. Arin fed the fire, his eyelids drooping. A growl rumbled. He jerked awake. Eyes glinted beyond the firelight. A lynx, gaunt and desperate. It slunk closer, lips peeled from yellowed fangs. Arin stood slowly, torch raised. The lynx hissed, swiping at the flames. He lunged, brandishing the fire. The creature retreated, melting into the dark. His hand shook. The torch guttered. Dawn was a lifetime away. Arin climbed the oak, wedging himself between icy branches. Below, the fire dwindled to embers. He chewed pine, resin to stay awake, the bitterness keeping fear at bay. A howl pierced the night. Wolves. Close. He counted 3 voices. Hunting. Don't run. Don't breathe. The pack emerged, lean shadows circling his tree. A black-furred male sniffed the ashes, growling. Arin gripped his dagger. If they scented him, the wolves lingered, tearing at the hare's carcass. Cale had left as bait. Arin's legs cramped. A branch cracked under his shifting weight. The black wolf looked up, eyes reflecting firelight. Arin held still, become stone. Minutes stretched. The wolves moved on. He woke to crows calling. The fire was dead. Frost crusted his cloak. Arin slid down the tree, legs buckling. His breath plumed in the pale light. Alive, he followed wolf tracks to a frozen stream, smashing the ice with a rock. Water trickled, bitter and clean. He drank greedily. A rasping cough echoed. Arin froze. Behind a boulder, a sickly buck lay wheezing, ribs jutting. Its eyes were milky with infection. Easy meat. He drew his dagger. The buck struggled weakly, too far gone to flee. Arin hesitated. Killing a sick animal was mercy, but tradition demanded hunters cull the weak to strengthen the herd. He slit its throat. At dusk, Arin returned to the village. He dragged the buck's carcass, its blood staining the snow. The tribe gathered silently. Cale inspected the kill, fingers probing the diseased lungs. You ate none of it. It was rotten, Arin said. Cale grunted. Wisdom, men. Brenna stepped forward, pressing a hand to Arin's chest. His heartbeat thudded against her palm. He lives. Torin spat. Luck. Tarn met Arin's gaze, nodding once. That night, Arin slept by the fire pit. Ghost curled against him, warmth seeping through the exhaustion. Cale's voice carried from the shadows. He's harder than I thought. Brenna stirred a pot of bone broth. Hardness breaks. Better broken than dead. Arin closed his eyes, the trial's cold still in his bones. The stag was a ghost. For weeks, hunters whispered of it. A beast with antlers like thunderbolts, its coat white as birch bark. It left no tracks, killed no crops. Some claimed it was a spirit, others a hoax. Arin found its trail near the salt licks, a tuft of white fur snagged on hawthorn. We hunted, Cale declared. They tracked it for days. The stag led them through ravines and across frozen rivers, always a flicker ahead. Arin's feet bled. Cale's maimed hand turned purple with cold. On the third dawn, they cornered it in a mist-choked valley. The stag stood, antlers scraping the sky. It regarded them without fear, breath steaming the air. You're shot, Cale said. Arin knocked an arrow. The stag's eyes were black pools, endless and calm. His hand steadied. Aim for the hole, its head, rumble vibrating the ground. Arin's pulse roared. He released the bowstring. The arrow grazed the stag's flank, leaped into the mist. Fool, Cale hissed. The tribe's swift. Mocked him at the counter. The cursed child spares spirits. Maybe he's one of them. At him, offered a grin. Passion. It is here, Arin muttered. He returned to the valley alone. The stag's blood marked the snow, a sparse trail. Arin followed it to a cave, its entrance veiled by icicles. Inside, the stag lay dying, its breath ragged. Arin knelt beside it. The wound was shallow, but festering. "I'm sorry," he whispered. The stag's eyes held no blame. Arin drew his dagger, hesitated, then slit its throat. He butchered it there, saving the hide and antlers. The meat he left for scavengers. That night, he presented the pelt to the council. Kale stroked the white fur. "Why hide the kill?" "It wasn't a kill. It was a mercy." Torin laughed. "Mercy starves no one." Brenna silenced him with a glare. "The stag's spirit will favor Arin. That's gift enough." Kale tossed the pelt at Arin's feet. "Wear it. Let the tribe see your shame." Arin woke to whispers. Children pointed as he passed. Elders